to remove encroachments from our property. And then if it's a very expensive encroachment or costs a lot of money, we have the ability to force the landowner in court to reimburse the flood control district for the cost of that encroachment. So we now have a whole encroachments department at the flood control district, because we're doing exponentially more projects now than we've ever done in our history because of the $2.5 billion bond program that was passed in August 2018. And so since we're doing more projects, we're finding more encroachments. And so we have a systematic process to deal with that. And so when y'all see things like what y'all sent to me, we don't have our eyes on all the channels. There's just too many channels for us to see everything all the time. That's why we rely on citizens. Let us know. I'll send a staff member out to investigate. And if it is an encroachment, we'll start our encroachment process, which is a notification process that's set into the state law. So that particular encroachment that Lee just showed, our staff has already made contact with the homeowner. The homeowner said, golly gee, you caught me. And he has told us, now we'll see what actually happens, but he has told us that he's going to remove that encroachment at his expense. So we will keep an eye on that. And I know y'all will too. And just let us know if he's going to keep his word on it. So that's what's going on with encroachments. And then I'm going to go ahead, and now I'm going to share my screen to talk to you a little bit. Host disabled participant screen sharing. That's okay. Unless Lee will let me share my screen.
Is there a way that I can do that? Tell me how.
It says host has disabled participant screen sharing.
Is that forever and always?
A picture's worth 1,000 words, 1,000 of my words at least.
Andrew, tell me how to do that and I'll do it.
Can you bring up the participant list?
Yes.
And then just try right-clicking on Matt's name and see if you can.
Stop video chat, make host. Make host, yes. Can I do that?
You can do that.
Oh, I'm the host now.
If he passes it back to you.
You have to pass it back. Oh, he said, hold on. Hold, please.
Sorry, that was my dogs. Hang on one sec. So I'm going to share my screen, and you should be able to see the screen with a bunch of stuff on it. Just give me a thumbs up if you can see all this stuff. Okay, good. Okay, so here's what's going on Turkey Gully. The flood control district, council member Abby Kamen told us about a piece of property that had a for sale sign. And it's basically the property are these two tracks that are highlighted in yellow. So council member Kamen told me, hey, this property is for sale. I had my staff look into it. We appraised it. We made an offer. The offer was accepted, and the flood control district is going to close and we'll own this property before the end of the month. So we bought this. This is now very soon officially going to be flood control property, and it's going to help support a future project on Turkey Gully. What is that project going to look like? It's going to look something like this. So just to orient yourself, here's Bevis Street and 22nd, 23rd, 24th, and so on. Y'all know this area pretty well, I'm sure. So this is what the full project that was laid out by a planning study that was completed. It was either 2 or 3 years ago. It was a planning study completed by the City of Houston and the Harris County Flood Control District. We split the cost 50-50, and the consultant recommended these improvements along Turkey Gully. So they recommend some new storm sewer systems. These numbers here, that stands for 4 foot by 2 foot, and RCB stands for reinforced concrete box. When y'all think of storm sewers, normally you probably think of a circular concrete pipe. But sometimes storm sewers are concrete boxes. So when you see RCB, that's what it's talking about. And it's 4 feet wide by 2 feet tall. So, and then they recommend a 6 foot tall by 6 foot wide reinforced concrete box here, and a 12 foot wide by 7 foot tall concrete box all the way down to White Oak Bayou. They also recommend a detention basin in part of the parking lot. This is the restaurant supply, and they recommend a detention basin in part of that parking lot. We haven't reached out to them and this property owner yet. Once the project actually gets started, and I'll talk about that later, we'll be reaching out to them to see if there's a way that we can purchase part of that parking lot. Because if you drive by this area frequently, I know I drive by it every single day on my way to the office. The parking lot is rarely full because it used to be a grocery store, but now it's a restaurant supply. So the demand for parking in this location isn't what the intended use is anymore. So we'll cross that bridge once we start the project. Then there's other storm sewer recommended, and so on and so forth. So that's the big project. The Harris County Flood Control District bond program has this project included. If right here, it's called E106. The project ID is CI-030. And it's listed as a partnership project. The bond program has $10 million set aside for this project. We have $30 million in here for a partner, which is going to be the City of Houston, or maybe a grant, or maybe even TERS 5 if we get to that point, for a $40 million project. So the City of Houston, and I am working very closely with Councilmember Kamen's office. The City of Houston doesn't have this project on their CIP radar anytime soon, but I'm working with Councilmember Kamen to see if there's a way to change that, to elevate this project up in their CIP. And so we'll see how that works out. But what I'm trying to tell y'all as a group is the Flood Control District stands ready to work on this project, but we do require that we have a partnership with the city, because most of this project is actually going to be in the city right away, as opposed to the Flood Control District right away. Speaking of that, also there's oops, I used the wrong thing. There is another issue that's been brought up by the super neighborhood that we're looking into, and it's the culvert or pipe that runs underneath this auto yard. We have been working very closely with the city and our attorneys at the Harris County Attorney's Office and our property rights reviewers. And long story short, the Flood Control District spent some money. We had this line televised. What that means is we have a consultant or a contractor that runs a robot with a camera through this pipe and investigated. We made that information. We sent that information to y'all earlier, and y'all looked at it. But what we found is basically the City of Houston, and I'm not being negative, I just want to say facts. The City of Houston staff have basically thrown their hands up in there and said, we can't figure out what to do with this. This is an unpermitted construction. The Flood Control District and the city cannot find any permits for this pipe going through here. So what we're going to do is, since the Flood Control District does have an easement, that's what this yellow line is here, or I guess off-white line is here. That's a Flood Control District easement. That's where we have a property right, which is adjacent. And we're working with the attorneys to figure out a way to write a letter and legally claim to them that they have to do some type of remediation through here. I don't know how it's all going to play out, but I'll keep Lee's my point of contact, and she texts me and asks me questions all the time, and so she'll make sure that I keep y'all in the loop on this thing as this progresses. But we're not gonna drop it. We're not gonna let it go. It's just kind of a very unique one-off situation that we're kind of figuring out how to handle as we go along. But we will come to a conclusion one way or the other on this particular issue. And Lee, what else did you want me to cover?
So I was wondering, as Turkey Gully comes down through Shady Acres towards 14th and into Wynwood and Timber Grove Section 4, what does it look like in terms of widening? Is the project specifically related to those culverts? Or are we actually going to see any kind of clearing and widening of Turkey Gully as it gets to White Oak Bayou?
So the project that was recommended by the planning study does not include any type of channel modifications in this area in the lower part that y'all talked about. You can see the green means that there's a public easement, a public drainage easement through here, which does give the flood control district the legal right to do work in here. Let me turn that. If we need to come through here and clean it out and do selective clearing, remove some de-snags, removing vegetation, I can ask my staff to evaluate this, and I can since the flood control district owns this particular lot right here, we have pretty good access to get in here and walk this channel and evaluate it. If you'd like me to do that, I'm happy to direct my staff to evaluate this channel. And we do have a program. We have a vegetation management program, and two aspects of our vegetation management program is to go through and do selective clearing. What that means is that if there's a channel that's heavily vegetated and heavily wooded, we don't want to go there and clear cut everything, because then there's other problems that could occur, namely erosion. So what we can do is we can keep the good trees and the good vegetation, but clear all the trash out and all the underbrush to allow the water to be able to flow through easier. And then we also have a de-snag program that goes through and picks up all the branches and dead trees and debris that would snag up and cause a clog. So if you would like for me, or the super neighborhood would like for me to have my staff evaluate that on the lower part of Turkey Gully, that's not an issue. I can make that happen.
Okay, I will check. I don't believe that we have anything in this section. I've heard folks up in Shady Acres talk about having, washers and dryers and shopping carts in Turkey Gully, and them going through and doing that kind of clearing. And I've never volunteered because I'm terrified of snakes. I don't want to be anywhere near that. So, but if there is a program for that, I think that would be a good option, just to put it in a newsletter or something like that.
You just let me know, Lee, and we'll work together and get something done.
Okay, that sounds great. So I think, John Zavala, you had a question. If you'll just unmute yourself, and maybe, do we need to unshare the screen so that people can?
Oh.
No, I got it. It's good. Let me
Okay.
find John Zavala. Yeah, you have to give me control again now.
Okay, well, I can stop sharing unless
Anybody else have? I think John's got questions. Do you want to unmute John so he can ask?
So let's see, where is
Hang on, John.
Hey, John. Okay, hang on, John. Unmute. Okay, all right, I'm clicking. Oh, all right. Hang on. There you go, John. You should be unmuted, or you're not. Okay. I'm clicking unmute on his thing, but it's not unmuting.
Maybe
John.
if you unshare, have you?
Can you hear me now?
Oh yes.
Yes, I can.
Okay. Yeah, it was on my screen too. Hey Matt, can you back up to that piece of property you bought in Shady Acres? Can you put that back up?
Sure. Okay.
Where you bought that property? I just saw something here, and it was a quick question. I've got the real questions written down.
Okay, so
It was a satellite shot you had where you bought that property.
yeah, it's these two tracks here.
Yep. Okay, follow that up. Is that a drainage canal coming into Turkey Gully or not? To the right. Yeah, there you go. Keep going up. So does Turkey Gully go underground here under the street? Is that what it does?
Yeah, it does. The dashed blue line
Is actually
means that it's under. That means it's underground.
Okay, underground. Okay, then it pops up every now and then. Okay.
What's the size of the culvert there?
I don't know off the top of my head. I'd have to go look it up.
It's a
It's on
mess.
Jim's though, right?
It should be in Jim's, yes.
Okay, I've got access. My two questions, Matt, is all about White Oak Bayou in general. I've got a million questions, but I narrowed down to two. The North Canal on your website, the entire cost of the North Canal, which is that bypass at U of H, right? For the people who don't know
Yes,
what North
correct.
Canal is. The entire cost of the North Canal was applied to White Oak Bayou only. But if you physically look there and go there, and I ride my bike all the time and I see it, White Oak, Buffalo Bayou also would benefit lowering their flooding also, but it wasn't proportional like 60-40 or, 70-30. It was all dumped on White Oak Bayou, and it makes White Oak Bayou look like, it's comparable to everybody else, all the other watersheds as far as the bond money. So why was it all put on the cost for North Canal, all on White Oak Bayou only, and not some of it on Buffalo Bayou?
It's really just the project is considered a White Oak Bayou watershed project, and it just for simplicity, basically, we don't split the costs on a multi-watershed project like the North Canal. We didn't want to split the costs because it just make it a lot more difficult to keep up with. And so it's really just for simplicity's sake.
So it's simplicity for Harris County Flood Control then, right?
That's correct.
Okay. But you do agree that it will help Buffalo Bayou, correct?
Oh yeah, no one's disputing.
No, I'm just saying, right? So, okay. Again, back to North Canal. TxDOT did a survey as far as lowering, when it's all complete in 2,000 years, what it will lower the water level. And I understand they gave you that survey, the data to you guys, since it was public dollars spent for that. Isn't that public information? Because I tried to reach out to them and they wanted me to go to the Pentagon to get that data.
Right. So TxDOT did share their drainage study on the North Canal, which is a part of their I-45 reconstruction project. And I'm not going to speak for TxDOT in what they want to share and what they don't want to share, but they did tell us that it was for our eyes only and for us just to, as part of our projects that we're working on with them on Little White Oak Bayou as part of the North Houston Highway Improvement Project. So I don't want to speak for TxDOT on why they don't want to share it with you, but I can certainly ask my colleagues at TxDOT and give you an answer back. And
yeah,
just so you know, John, just for your information, the City of Houston actually has the request for qualifications for the design consultant for the North Canal out on the street right now as we speak.
So it is a done deal, money-wise. Everything's been agreed to. Because at one time it seemed like it was a proposal, you had money, but it wasn't a done deal to execute it, right?
The deal is done in the sense that the City of Houston has received a grant from FEMA to design and construct the North Canal, and we are working. The Harris County Flood Control District, the City of Houston, TERS 5, and TxDOT are circulating an interlocal agreement that sets the roles and responsibilities and financial commitments associated with this project. It's being circulated amongst all those groups' attorneys as we speak. And the City of Houston has their request for qualifications for engineers out on the street right now. And we are working closely with the city on that request for qualifications.
Can you give us a dimensionally? It's going to be 40 feet deep and 80 foot wide. Is there dimensions that you shared secrets, top secrets, nuclear secrets you can give us?
It's not secret. I don't have the dimensions. There's lots of concepts that have been posted and that are posted out there, but the final geometry and the final look and the final size of the North Canal will be determined during the design phase. That's going to hopefully start this summer.
Okay.
And John, I can always send you the RFQ if you want to read the RFQ.
Sure. Yeah, more information for retired guy to read. Great. And also, I'm going to ask one more.
No, John,
Yes, ma'am.
I'm sorry to stop you, but we've already passed this limit, so we need to move to
Okay.
choice because we've got 2 more topics. Appreciate your time though tonight. Matt, thank you again for sharing all the information. And if you'd like to move the.
Oh yeah, here, sorry. I'll unshare, and then if y'all tell me how to not be the leader.
I think just go to my name, and then where you click and it says more, and then you should be able to drop down and
make the host.
Yeah.
Okay, you're now the host.
Yay, thank you. Okay.
No problem.
So thank you again, Matt. A lot of good information, and we appreciate everything that you do for us. You're very responsive and just love that. I can't sing your praises enough, so thank you. And again, for everybody in the area, Shady Acres, Timber Grove, Lazy Brook, just respectfully reach out. Let me know if you have any questions, and we will get that information to Matt, and he responds so that we don't have everybody running at him. But we have always had real good response in terms of the questions. So we appreciate it. Thank you.
Okay, y'all have a good night.
Thank you. So we want to move over to Choice Morrow. So Choice is an engineer with floodplain management, and she has graciously agreed to talk to us tonight. I think I've got some of my neighbors from Shady Acres and Clark Pines on the call tonight. And one of the things that we've been talking about is what is fill, what is cut, what is detention versus mitigation? How do we actually all understand those terms? And so Choice has agreed to spend a little time explaining that to us. Then we're gonna move into Andrew Schaefer's gonna do a very quick introduction of Palisades Park. And then Choice is gonna follow with what she's been able to find with that. So Choice, with that, I'll just turn it over to you.
Okay. So I am supposed to click on you, or you click on me?
Do you have a presentation you want to show, or?
No, I don't.
Okay,
I can just speak.
You can go ahead and speak.
Okay. Hi again, and thank you for inviting me. My name is Choice Morrow. I'm the managing engineer for the Floodplain Management Office for the City of Houston. And first of all, I'd like to get a quick overview of what our office is responsible for. We're responsible for permitting all construction activity that's located within what we call the City of Houston Special Flood Hazard Area, in accordance with the provisions of the Floodplain Chapter 19 Ordinance, and also as per the regulations set by FEMA. We issue floodplain permits for the 500-year based on what occurred September the 1st, 2018, which doubled our workload, and also the 100-year floodplain as well as the floodway. And we have really stringent criteria and try to deter people from not doing anything in the floodway. We inspect projects as well as permit them for conformance with our floodplain development requirements. And also we do enforcement activities, which we'll get into on the Palisades project. We also manage and review letters of map amendment and map changes. We also review drainage plats, plans for plats when the projects first start off. We provide floodplain maps to the public as need be, and other floodplain insurance information that we can assist them with. We also implements the city's community rating system program with FEMA. The City of Houston is what we call a higher standard community, that we go above and beyond what FEMA regulates or requires, participating in the flood National Flood Insurance Program. And also we assist with flood disaster recovery. That is one of the things that we have to do also as part of the community rating system. Now, we're gonna, let me see what else. Cut and fill, especially, I know this is brought up because of what's happening out with Palisades. Cutting and filling, it's a process of just moving earth, some people say dirt, from one place to another to make the ground level. On that particular well, a cut is made when, I'm just gonna say this, the cut is made when, let's start over. A cut is made when the earth, no, I don't like that. Let me try to think of a different definition.
And you sound like me, Joyce.
Yeah, I don't want to make it any more complicated for me either. Let me say, a cut is made when earth is cut from above a desired ground height, and fill is when the earth is used to fill a hole to the desired ground level. It basically, it is to even the surface, so that you're trying to even the surface as much as possible. Detention and mitigation. Detention, you can get an earful from actual Dr. Kathleen Bullock, who handles storm detention, but I can just give you a brief on that. Basically, it's stormwater detention. It's a systems, various types of ways that is designed to hold water for just a brief period of time and slowly release it. It's a temporary measure. It's not permanent. That's what a retention basin is. It always have water in it. Detentions are dry usually, except for a flooding event. Like I said, it's just a temporary measure to manage excess stormwater runoff on a developed site. Mitigation is what our office primarily works with. Is to reduce the risk of life and property through land use planning, floodplain management, and the adoption of sound building practices. And that is what some of the more stringent new requirements in by going and regulating a 500-year floodplain with the new ordinance that was adopted in 2018 is about. Also, there's different types of grant programs that also support these activities, usually elevating structures. You're mitigating them, you're getting a structure out of harm's way. It doesn't necessarily have to be a house. It could be an air conditioning pad. It could be any type of a pad with a structure on it, or a pole. These mitigation, we call them hazard mitigation projects. They reduce the risk of life and danger to a structure. We elevate them. You can relocate a structure. You can demo, rebuild, acquire the properties located in the floodplains that you're wanting to move, usually with the buyouts, and just usually return them to a safer, if there's such a thing in Houston, I'm finding out, open space, and reinforcing the buildings so that they can sustain, hydrostatic pressure and things like that with, what do you call why am I drawing a blank? I should have eaten lunch. I'm sorry. But that's pretty much what mitigation is. Okay. It is basically you bringing in a spoonful of debris or dirt into property. We're asking you to take that spoon out, and we want to make sure that the conditions are the same or better than when you put the structure in place. Let me see. I think that's pretty much all that you'd asked me. And then we can get into Palisades, and you can get into a little bit more information with cut and fill that I found out about today.
I think that would be helpful. We get some live information. So what I'm going to do is share my screen that shows Palisades Park and then ask Andrew Schaefer, who actually lives in this house right here, who is
Okay.
intimately involved and has mastered the skill of drone flying and video capturing. So I'm going to turn it over to you to tell us what are we looking at here, Andrew?
Sure. Thanks, Lee. So we've been, I'm a neighbor in Timber Grove Section 5, which had a lot of flooded homes recently during Harvey. So we've kind of had a focus on watching the development around the area. At the time, Stanley Park was the one development, which you can see labeled here. That was one where they had brought in like 13,000 cubic yards of fill dirt. And Harris County Flood Control and Matt were working very diligently to make sure that that didn't affect us. And it's, I guess, currently on hold. The blue line kind of coming out of what looks like a stormwater runoff or box in Palisades is kind of the E105 that ends up in White Oak Bayou. In working with Harris County Flood Control, we had them do a study of that E105 bayou, because all of Cottage Grove, I guess west, which drains, their stormwater drains under this Eureka rail yards into that E105 as well. So we've been kind of focused on Palisades since that's the new development. It appears that they're raising the property. It originally looked like 2 feet, although they probably put up a 4-foot retention wall just recently. And it looks like all of the water is kind of destined for that southeast corner of the property, which flows directly into E105. That little portion of E105 is under City of Houston control, whereas 80% of it, I think, downstream is under Harris County Flood Control. They had done a study and found their portion to be at capacity for any runoff. It was already kind of receiving all it could handle. So I think part of what we wanted to just bring up, we already know that I guess the floodplain permits have already been approved for Palisades, and there's not always an information kind of sharing between the two organizations, but also just kind of bringing up concerns with the amount of dirt brought in to raise the entirety of the property, and the amount of water that's going to kind of flow into that E105 drainage area, which already seems to be at capacity. So.
Okay, thank you for the overview. And then Choice actually sent an email with pictures as late as, was it today or yesterday?
This afternoon.
This afternoon. Okay, so if you want to walk us through what we're looking at, this is the back, this is Eureka, right, Andrew? On the,
yeah.
Yeah, so Cottage Grove, right?
Right.
And the rail yards in between. So I don't exactly know what we're looking at here, but I'll turn it back to you, Choice.
Okay, where you see the high mounds, they're making their cuts in their field. The project, we still have hard holes on the project, which means that they cannot go any further or do any other work on this until we're sure that their mitigation cuts are as per what was permitted. With this particular project, they were able to get their plans approved under the old floodplain ordinance. So they're doing their mitigation cuts based upon the 100-year, but we're still 100-year floodplain, but we're still keeping an eye on them, as well as other properties that are coming up for development because of concerns with over sheet flow, things like that. Just because we have permitted a project a certain way, once they get into the construction of it, If we see that there is an issue with it, we still have the right to stop them and to request additional information from them to prove that they're not causing any adverse effects up or downstream or adjacent to the property. So what they're doing is they're having to lower the property back to compensate for the additional fill that they have put on the site, but they're not done. They're still working because of the amount of fill that they brought that they had to remove and keep cutting down on it. It will be, I guess, based upon, I guess it was Mr. Schaefer who first alerted our group of this. And
Yeah.
we started sending inspectors out every week, checking on this property. So our inspectors have almost a tag team. There was 2 of them take turns going out every week.
No fun on the tags. We want those red tags coming. Keep them coming.
Yeah, and they're doing that. So the inspectors had no idea that I was having this meeting with you this afternoon. It was just their time to go out and to check on this. They never know, the contractors never know when we're going to show up. They need to handle up on what they're doing out there until we're satisfied with it. But we will always keep you abreast of what's going on, especially now since I'm a little bit more abreast on what is happening, and I know Lee. I can easily keep you abreast weekly. I can keep you updated on a weekly basis on what's going on. Or you do know David Lopez, the senior inspector, and also Lakeisha,
Yes.
who is the original plan reviewer for this. And she is one of the best plan reviewers that we have. So if they construct this project the way that she permitted it, it will be fine.
Okay.
But they still have a ways to go. Like I said, we have a second visit with them in a couple of days to see what they have done.
Do
But
you
they
know
have a lot of
if,
mitigation on the property.
Okay, so the continued activity is just extra mitigation for what they brought in.
Yes, they're not building anything. They're not approved to do that. So you're just seeing them moving, pretty much moving earth, and that's it. That's all that they're supposed to be doing. If you do see them doing something other than that, you just please call.
Yeah, so I guess
know.
they're still constructing, so they're constructing the road, building retention walls, all of that was as of, last week still.
It should have stopped today for sure.
Okay, well.
And also I sent Lee, you have some other photos, I think?
Did you?
That's attached to what I sent you this afternoon. It should have been maybe 4.
Yeah, I was rolling through those. Did that not show up? Did you see them?
No, I only saw just one.
Oh.
And that was a mitigation cut that they were doing in the back of the property.
All right, hold on. Let's go find out what that was. I thought that since I was sharing my screen, it would show up. All right, so do you see the arrow where we've got the townhomes in the back? No, I'm still not sharing, huh?
We see your browser window just with
That's lovely. Okay.
the Zoom.
Stop
Yeah.
sharing that. Screen share. This. Okay. How about now?
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, you
So
just need to.
the first picture, and then you see it. The second picture.
Yes.
Okay. And then the third picture. And then now back to the first picture.
Okay.
And that's what I
all
got.
yeah.
So what I was wondering is, it looks to me, and I don't know, because Andrew, you know better than I do, but if they brought in literally hundreds of trucks of fill dirt. You've got a pre-survey that was done. So Inspector Lopez can see that, but I was told from another project with Inspector Lopez that not until the end of the project, when they surveyed, would they know the difference between the beginning survey and the end survey and then mitigate. And that's way too late in terms of fully fill.
They have to also give us a second elevation certificate.
Okay.
We will get 3 elevation certificates on this particular project. One that was done at the beginning for construction, and then we'll get a second one. But when we are, when we have projects like this and we're kind of scratching our heads, we do have the capabilities. We do have a surveying equipment that we go and make shots, a quick, spot shots if we have to. So that is one of the reasons why we have that, so it can help us out in issues like this.
Okay.
Yeah.
One of the things that I was thinking that might be helpful is if Andrew's able to work with and talk to Inspector Lopez, because Andrew's got lots of video from the beginning, months ago when we first started work, and we saw, when we were doing tours of the area, we saw culverts being put on the land, and then we saw, well, Andrew actually saw hundreds of trucks coming in daily to put dirt in there. And so I was thinking maybe we could actually coordinate that effort between Andrew and Inspector Lopez and Lakeisha even to help.
And I also have, there's a second inspector that's being reassigned to this. His name is it Kirk or Terry? Well, let's start with David.
Okay.
And David has a second eyes on this.
Okay.
Yeah, and that is fine. That is what we're here for. And like I said, we have a small staff, so the more eyes that we have and people assist us or show us if there's potential violations, that is how we can maintain some level of control over what's going on these projects and still find a way to the end.
And we appreciate that very much. One of the questions that came up when we were talking about Diane Street Villa Apartments, it's on Diane Street in between 14th and 15th. And a question came up as to whether or not mitigation would be better served by having one developer develop the entire area of 2 acres versus 2 developers developing differently and a different set of plans. When you look at it from the floodplain management, this is all speculative because we don't know who's going to be approved and who isn't. But
right.
With that said, what is your best case scenario on that? Like, is it better to have one developer or 2 developers, or would you expect to have the same mitigation achieved either way?
Depending upon what the project is, mitigation is based upon what kind of is displaced. So I prefer to have actually it done individually. This is just a personal preference for me. I can tell you from personal experience, I'm not originally from Houston. I traded tornadoes for hurricanes. I'm from North Texas, Colleyville, near DFW Airport. But I do know in the neighborhood that I live in now, there was a noticeable difference in across from me with a single developer that was responsible for the detention, and then you had 2 different developers trying to develop. It's going to come out to be about the same because they're responsible for mitigating what they're doing on their project. It's going to come out to be the same.
Okay. I don't know how to unmute everybody. I know that there's some folks that have questions out there. Mike Van Dusen, you had a question. If you'd like to unmute yourself and ask.
I should be unmuted. When this property was platted a couple of years ago, there should have been a drainage plan submitted with the plat application. Is that correct?
Yes.
Are they required to continue abiding by that drainage plan, or can that be amended after the platting event?
From what I understand, I have seen some amended plats, not many.
Has there been any amendment on this tract?
I have no idea. I could find that out and have it give you an answer first thing tomorrow morning.
Okay, that would be good. Thank you.
Oh, go ahead.
Go ahead,
Sorry.
Peter.
I'm sorry. Are you all done? I'm sorry. I didn't mean to interrupt.
Yeah. Go ahead.
This is Peter Davies. I'm over in the Timber Grove area. We had a question. So in the past, obviously we know more about floodplains than when we first moved there. So the city of Houston will routinely come in and overlay our streets. And I guess what the question was is that typically with other entities like Harris County and stuff like that, that there's, obviously no fill, just like the city of Houston. So what's happened is that a lot of the streets that are actually in the 100-year floodplain have received like 2 inches of asphalt. And I guess the question was, I don't know if anyone was aware of that. And then the second thing was, what was interesting, they did a project in over off Pine Shade, which is section 6, which is the 500-year floodplain. And the contractor actually came in and took out 1 inch of concrete and then put back 1 inch of asphalt, I guess, to compensate. And I guess the question is, does the city have any policy as far as filling the floodplain, as far as roadways, as far as doing maintenance?
Actually, a city project, when it has to be permitted, reviewed and permitted the same way as any other project. Sometimes they don't like to hear that, but it's the truth.
Right.
Yes.
So I think
and right now, we are going through an exercise in my office, looking through a lot of the old, some recent CIP projects to make sure that we have permits on them. And if not, why?
So if we have areas that were filled, I guess, and I don't think anybody wants to tear up the overlays, and I don't think they want to put the city through a cost. I guess what everybody was thinking on the next cycle, that maybe we could have some consideration as far as basically taking the asphalt down to the original level. Is that probably reasonable?
On that particular one, that is something that the traffic department would have to, I know that they have a traffic ordinance, they have design standards for that. I don't know what they are. I could try to find that out for you also.
Mm-hmm.
The gentleman that, it's, what is his name? He is sick right
I
now.
think, was it Steve Liu or Tim Lincoln that used to work with that?
Right, and Tim, it's Steve Liu is still there. As a matter of fact, we're working with him to help find some permits on some recent road projects, road work that they constructed, and he has been able to find permits for it, but we just didn't have it in our files that we needed it. But yeah, he's the one. If you know him, I'm sure you can reach out to him, or if you want me to, I could.
Okay, and we'll follow up. I'll let someone else ask some more questions.
Yeah,
okay?
but Tim Lincoln has retired.
Oh, good. Okay.
Yeah,
Well,
he's been gone for
helpful.
almost 2 years.
Oh,
Yeah.
good Lord.
I
Okay.
know David Sharpos has a question.
Yes,
Okay.
thank you. This is David from Clark Pines. Back to the Dine Street Villas question. I think I would ask it this way. Is there any, are there more stringent stormwater detention requirements for a for a multifamily apartment building complex versus, say, 40 single-family homes?
40 single-family homes versus
An apartment building.
So
the,
that's where I was saying that we had two different developers, one doing 32 homes, one doing 12 homes versus an entire complex. So that's,
when you start getting into the impervious cover, it all depends on which project is going to displace more or require, which has a bigger footprint is what I would say. And that's what you're going to mitigate for.
Okay. So if they both had 100% impervious cover, theoretically, they'd have the same requirements in terms of stormwater detention.
I believe so, yes.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they don't make a difference in that at all. It doesn't matter if it's single family or multifamily.
so what I like to say to that is, it's the responsibility of the people who are living near the construction to watch what is coming in, what is going out, and to notify our city leaders and department heads to say, hello, please come take a look right quick, because this doesn't look right. We need to educate ourselves in terms of what is cut, what is fill, what is mitigation. Are you in the 100-year floodplain or the 500-year floodplain? Ask questions, educate yourself. If you don't know, anybody that's on Super Neighborhood 14 is, we've got people on speed dial, so we're good at getting information. Yeah. And we also know a lot of people within Super Neighborhood Alliance. So Mike Van Dusen and Stacy Fairchild are both from Super Neighborhood 22. Mark Williamson is the president at Super Neighborhood 15. We've got a lot of great people that can help us maneuver. Allison Newport is the president of Shady Acres. And so again, we've just got a lot of good people engaged in these kinds of conversations, and I appreciate everybody's input. In addition to the folks on the phone, we've also got Nan Nguyen. She's the chairperson for the Department of Communities. Is that right, Nan?
I work with Councilmember Abby Camen's office. I do the constituent services in her office.
District services. Okay, thank you. And Marisol is on the phone. She is from, I just went blank.
It's okay. I'm from State Representative Anna Eastman's office.
Thank you. Thank you both so much for joining, and thank you for my neighbors for joining. We are actually right at 7:15, so if nobody has anything else, I appreciate everybody's attending the meeting, and I think it was great information, and thank you so much, Ms. Morrow, for joining us tonight and spending so much time with us. It was good information. We appreciate it.
Actually, I have a question for John Zavala. Would you contact me? I have some quiet zone information to get back with you. Okay.
Lee, I would like to reiterate that we strongly encourage people that if they see anything, especially in the floodplain, our office has enforcement authority in the floodplain, the 100, 500, the floodway, that we can write violations and then also take people to court.
We like that. Okay.
I have a quick question.
Stacey, yes.
I don't know who can answer this, but I think I heard there were 2 developers at the Palisades working on the Palisades development. Is that right?
It should just be one. Yeah, it's just one developer. They split it into 4 different sections.
Okay.
But it's one developer.
Who is it? Do you know?
I have an idea. It's kind of hard because they're running it through like 3 different or multiple holding LLCs. But I have a pretty good idea based off of addresses that are used on other businesses that they have their name associated with. So.
Y'all want to talk offline? No.
I don't have it off the top of my head. I have it in some notes that I was doing on some research, but yeah, if you get in touch with me, I can share what I think is going on. The only thing I do know is the Jones Carter is the engineering firm that's representing them. I guess, Choice, do you have any information on that, or do you know? Is that kind of protected? It just shows a partnership on all of their documents.
No, we don't know. It is like you said, it is Jones and Carter who are the engineers, and that is who we have been meeting with in our office. We have called them in. We talked to them in our office just before the outbreak of the virus, and we have spoken with them a lot on the phone about that project, in addition to going out, meeting with the contractor on site.
The reason I was asking is I thought it might be helpful to know who it is, because you may be able to look at other developments they have been a part of to kind of see what you're in for.
If you give me just a minute, let me see if I can pull something up on an application they sent in.
Might also be able to pull it off the plat information because the property owner is listed on the face of the plat.
Yeah, it's all done through a limited partnership. That when you look at the managing partner is a lawyer that works on Westcott or something. He does thousands of these things. But I have it. I think I tied it back to somebody, husband and wife couple, and live in West U. So I don't know.
That's interesting.
Yeah. Stacy, I just sent you my email address in the Zoom chat if you want to pull it up. And
okay, thank you. And I'll give it to Mike as well, because he's pretty knowledgeable about this area, and maybe Choice has some information for us. Maybe she's able to find something, but anyway, I just thought it would be helpful because, you know, we're used to digging over here on Washington Avenue.
yeah, we have, we actually also have an independent civil engineer who's reviewing everything, all the submissions, plats. She knows the folks over at Jones Carter, so she's going to be kind of, what she said is just giving them a professional courtesy of letting them know that somebody's going to be looking over their shoulder, and making sure everything kind of gets done properly.
In the meantime, Jack, look at your private messages. I want to know if you're still our representative at SN22.
I'm sorry, I'm on two different meetings.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, what's the question?
You had mentioned, you know, at the beginning of the meeting that there's going to be some shuffling with the super neighborhoods, and I was just wondering if you're still going to be our representative.
Yes.
Okay, wonderful. Thank you.
So all my super neighborhoods within inside the loop should not change.
Okay, great. We can't do this without you.
I'm super neighborhood 15 is also glad to hear that.
Yes, I don't want it. You guys know how to yell at me.
Slightly, I might add.
Respectfully yelling. Sorry, Choice.
I'm gonna have to pull the plat.
Okay.
Yeah, it's showing a partnership.
To not have to keep you guys on the call any further, you and I can just touch base, or I think I have connected. If you want to just forward that to me, I'll get that out to Andrew and others and Stacy. So again, thank you so much for your time tonight. We appreciate it. Hope y'all stay safe, and we'll be back in August like it's not hot enough already, right?
Thank you, Lee.
Thank you.
And
Thank you.
I hope to see some of you at the Super Neighborhood 15 meeting next Tuesday.
When is it? Will you send it to us, Mike?
I will send it
Mark?
to you, yes.
Please.
I'll send it to you, and also I need to send to a couple. I have a whole bunch of people who need to be sent to.
Excellent.
Wonderful. Thank you.
All right. Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Good night.
Bye. Good night.
Good night.
Thank you, Lee.
Thank
Bye-bye.
you. Okay,
Thanks,
bye-bye.
Lee.
Good night.
Bye.
Lee, I'm going to
Okay.
give you information on that plat tomorrow, and then
Okay.
you can forward it on.
Perfect.
See if
Thank
it's
you
been
so much.
amended, okay?
Yeah, great.
Okay.
Love it.
Bye.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you all.
Okay.
No problem.
Bye,
Bye.
Jack.
Thank you, Joyce. Thank you.
You're welcome.